Today's adventure started with the usual drive northwards from Ayr, up through Glasgow and onwards to the small village of St Fillan's, which is situated at the east end of Lochern, on the very edge of the Trossachs National Park. The route began with a brief stint on the road before crossing the old Lochern Head, St Fillan's and Comrie railway line. Much of this old railway line has been turned into a path accessible to both cyclists and walkers alike, and I'm led to believe more work along this old line is planned for the future. Anyway, that would be for another day, as our aim was to climb steeply up and away from Lochern and into the hills beyond. Several sections of the road offered up snippets of views across Lochern. These provided excellent excuses to stop, as the grade was, for the most part, fairly relentless. The bike's heavy, and most importantly, the rider's unfit. The snow and ice deepened as we gained altitude, but the fat tyres held firm. Steady, albeit slow progress was made up through this lovely wooded section of the route, and before long we crossed through a gate and out onto the open hillside.
Right, morning. Look, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, well, we're back at it again, finally. Yeah, maybe more on that later, actually. But no, well, welcome to a bit of winter up. We're kind of just in the Trossachs. Actually, I think we're not. I don't know if you can get out down there. It's Lochern. I think that's the border of the Trossachs. So we're actually just out of it. Up there, you'll see Ben Vorlich maybe. Fantastic views and white hills. So yeah, first winter camp of the year. So really looking forward to it. Especially since we haven't been out much, which we'll maybe talk a little bit about that later. But yeah, fantastic. Anyway, we're quite good time-wise. We're about, I think it's still morning. So yeah, we're not going far. And which says, I didn't mention where we are. It's actually a place called Glen Tarken. So there's a small loop we've got in and planned. Anyway, yeah, follow along, see how we get on.
Just as we finished this piece to camera, we were approached by the local landowner. She was exceptionally friendly and we chatted away for a couple of minutes while she explained that they were in the process of bringing the male sheep in off the hills surrounding Glen Tarken. I have to say, it was very tricky to see them against the dappled white and brown hillsides. She also indulged in a little nostalgia and reminisced of memories of picnics in the glen when her children were young. She also introduced us to her little border terriers, Wren and Tarken, quite possibly the cutest thing I have seen in years. If we ever get a dog, and we do talk about it from time to time, I think it will have to be a border terrier. Anyways, we carried on up Glen Tarken. With the steepest part up from Lochern through Glen Tarken Wood behind us, we began to enjoy the somewhat flatter grades and were able to take in the more open views this part of the ride had to offer. A fantastic blend of cloud and winter sun created just the sort of ambience suited to the glen. Glen Tarken isn't particularly long, with the head of the glen some 6 miles from our starting point. After that, the plan was to ascend to the top of Craigdhu, a subsidiary top that should hopefully offer excellent views both north towards the Ben Lawes range and southeast back down the glen towards Lochern and the Trossachs.
Right, so we're just about at the the head of Glen Tarken now. I think we just stopped for some lunch. It was sunny a minute ago. Now there's a wee squally snow shower coming in. Yeah, some new kind of sheep fanks and things around here. But then we're going up there. So I don't know if you can make out the road there, but it goes around there, heads back down the other side, and then we're going to zigzag back up and see if we can get up there. We'll see. We'll need to see what I feel like. But yeah, it's been lovely. It's been mostly sunny. kind of until now, really. I'll just show you down the glen. See if you can see that a bit better. But yeah, I've not got maybe like another hour of sunlight left, so that's about it. But anyway, we'll crack on. Let's say head round, finish my sandwich, head round, and up on the hill, and we'll bring you back a bit further on.
The snow shower continued as we headed round the glen and up towards the summit of Craig 2. The road didn't take in the summit, so it was a fair bit of pushing across some very rough ground. But we finally made it, and as if by design, the clouds parted and the snow left just as we arrived at the intended camp spot.
And this is where the wheels started to fall off things a bit. I'll bring you back to the office for a little fireside chat, I think, because quite frankly I'm feeling cold even just editing this video. So anyway, yeah, what happened? So that footage there is Mrs. Hikebike Scotland showing me one of the frozen water bottles, which was frozen solid. It turned out all three of the bottles that we'd filled up at the stream were frozen solid. So the only bottle of water that wasn't frozen solid was one of the ones that the litre Nalgene size one that we brought up with us. So I guess my working theory is that the water we took was somehow, because it was moving potentially below zero, and as soon as it got a chance to still, it froze. I don't know if there's anybody, with a physics background that knows if that's feasible or not. Yeah, please let us know in the comments. Anyway, so we basically went from having 4 bottles of water to 1. I must confess, I wasn't initially that concerned. I don't know if you remember last year's camp up in Glen Tarken. We got the inside of the tent up to about 8 or 9 degrees, and I foolishly thought that something similar might occur on this trip. Anyway, no such thing occurred. So we were left with a litre of water. It was enough for a coffee and hot chocolate each, and we had 1 meal, and the intention was that we would sort something out later and defrost it, but that didn't happen. Other things that happened at that point was all the batteries basically failed in all my equipment. That kind of thing's happened before. Obviously, anybody that's used this kind of equipment in the cold knows that that's just kind of goes with the territory a little bit, I guess. I did manage to get things charged eventually, but the battery pack that I had brought with me, that was too cold to use as well. So I ended up in a situation where I had to bring everything into the sleeping bag to try and warm it up. It was battery packs, drones, cameras. It was all in the sleeping bag with me, and nothing would charge even for 2 hours once it all kind of got up to temperature. Then I could start charging stuff. But anyway, that's just a bit of a faff. But it sort of approached about 10 o'clock. I was just about to get ready to kind of, go to sleep, basically. And then we had a kind of return of the Glen Tarken situation, and the wind just got up, and it roared all night long. Well, through to 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't sleep till 5, and Mrs. Hike Scotland, she didn't go to sleep until 6 in the morning. And with the alarm set at 8, we left it at 8 for the sunrise. Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, I don't know. But yeah, we only had a handful of sleep. It was a restless night. I don't know how windy it was. My guess is between 40 and 50. I didn't go out with the windometer because it's -7. I'm guessing 40 mile an hour winds. Wind chill of around -20. So every time you went out, you were looking at about an hour to get back to temperature again. Yeah, which brings us on to another thing. I think we're basically pushing the limits of our winter kit at this point. We're fine. We've got the big mats and, a fairly substantial sleeping bags and stuff, but with -7 and even in the tent, very airy, so the temperature didn't, we couldn't build any temperature inside the tent. We couldn't get it above about -1.5. It was a cold night. It was okay, but, cold toes, cold hands, this sort of stuff. Yeah, anyway, I guess that's just, the limits of the kit, I guess. But, so anyway, when I woke up at 8 o'clock with the alarm, there was no wind at all. It completely died off. And, we were in two minds whether to roll over and go back to sleep or whether just to kind of get going. But, I was a shell of a man at that point after 2 hours sleep and, in that kind of temperature. So, yeah, we just kind of got up and got on with it, if you like. So, and yeah, we just basically packed up and legged it back down the way, which I guess brings us on to the kind of final part of the trip, which was basically back down Glen Tarken. We didn't go back the way we came though. We went down the western side, which was quite interesting. There's some more things to do, slightly shorter as well actually, but we've got a little bit of footage of that, and we'll put that up just now.